Our MAF scaling here is something we need to talk about. So we have our horizontal MAF scaling and our MAF scaling part 1, 2, and 3. This breaks it up into these vertical sections. Now the reason why we need to update this is because we have a different intake on the car. This has an engine cold air ram air style intake, and it is going to be a 3-inch intake, approximately 3-inch. It might be slightly less than that on the inner diameter. I didn't measure it, but I know it's approximately that. Now the stock is going to be a bit smaller than that. When we have a change in our MAF housing size, we need to go in and recalibrate our MAF calibration tables. This is usually the only reason I will touch my MAF calibration table, unless I'm trying to tweak my load registration a little bit or manipulate the way it's working with our MAF and MAP calcs. So the mass airflow calcs and the MAP calcs and our load registration. So what we need to do here is actually minimize our software. We're going to go to our Evo 10 course, and we have some things in here. So our MAF Rescale Calculator is what we want to take a look at here. So let's let that open up. This is going to allow us to do that rescale. So let's actually close that. We can see our stock Evo 10 MAF size diameter is 2.75. Aftermarket MAF size diameter here is going to be 3-inch, and that's approximately, I'm going to guess, 3-inch. It might be something like 2.94, something like that. I didn't measure it to be exact. I probably should have before the intake was installed. But we're going to find here the value to multiply our MAF curve is going to be 1.19%. That's going to be the essentially multiplying our MAF curve by essentially 19 to 20%. We need to do that to be able to account for that difference in our MAF housing size, so that the load registration is still proper and that everything falls in line when it's calculating the load. So we need to jump in here and we need to do a multiply. So we're going to highlight this, and I'm going to do Shift asterisk. It's going to be allowing me to multiply my first portion of my curve. Again, we have this broken apart in 3 different curves because it's so large. We need to go and multiply what it's going to be showing here. So 1.19, enter. And we're going to go here and do the same thing, Shift asterisk 1.19. This is going to be essentially, again, treating the voltage lookup to the airflow registration lookup and correcting it for that larger diameter. So we'll do Shift asterisk again, 1.19, enter. So we've updated that. Pretty simple. Let's close this out here. And then we see our map-based load calc. I'm going to leave these alone. I generally don't touch my map load calc tables unless I'm trying to manipulate my load registration out of the ECU. So we'll look at this, and once we get the engine fired up, we'll talk about this a little bit more. But for right now, we'll leave them alone, and we'll just kind of roll with it. The mass airflow is something that we have to go and scale out. That is affected, again, by the MAF housing diameter change. The MAP calcs are not. We have a low pulse width adder table that's not going to be applicable to our stock injectors. We don't need to change that. If we have bigger injectors, we need to update that. Again, we don't need to do that. Our async injection, we don't need to change. The fuel compensation, manifold air temp versus MAP, we don't need to change anything here. This is going to be our compensation as our manifold air temperature sensor in the actual intake manifold changes versus our MAP pressure. Generally going to leave that alone. The stock values usually work pretty well. Going down here a little bit further, we're going to find we have our mile per gallon display. If we're changing our injector size, the mile per gallon reported on our dash is incorrect. We need to scale this by the difference of our injector size. So if we go from stock injectors to 1,000s, we might need to scale this down by maybe 50-60% or put the value at 50-60%. So when it's calculating the actual mile per gallon, it's actually accurate on the dash. Otherwise, it's going to be super inaccurate. The minimum pulse width update patch is found here. We don't need to apply that, so we can keep moving on. Minimum load, we don't need to change for the fuel pump voltage hysteresis. The fuel pump is going to be switching over as it should, going from the low to high voltage threshold changeover. We don't need to do that. We can see it's engine speed versus load, and again, it over or under drives and working with the fuel pump voltage. So we'll leave all that alone. There's load-based boost, which we're not interested in using. We actually can skip over this. We're going to be checking out direct PSI boost. So again, we'll kind of ignore this. The intake, there's throttle mapping here and the throttle condition switch. I'm going to leave all these alone. I don't go in and touch.
Thanks for checking out our teaser clip. If you want to see the rest of this video and more than 500 hours of current EFI training we have to offer, make sure you click right here. If you want to go and check out more teaser clips from this training course, click here. And you don't want to miss any of the videos we're going to be releasing on this channel, so make sure you subscribe and click here. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys later.